The unlikely alliance between Russia and Iran has raised questions in the West, with the US saying they may have violated a UN resolution prohibiting the supply, sale, and transfer of combat aircraft to Iran. Well, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has denied any such violation of UN resolutions.
There are no reasons to suspect that Russia is breaking UN Resolution 2231. These planes are used by the Russian aerospace forces with consent from Iran for anti-terrorist operations in the Syrian territory, as per the request of the Syrian government. The Islamic Republic of Iran is also cooperating with Damascus.
Well, for more on this, France 24's chief foreign editor Robert Parsons joins us on set. Rob, this Iranian-Russian deal's raised quite a lot of eyebrows, hasn't it? Well, what's behind Russia's decision to do business with Iran in this way?
Well, it's certainly eye-catching, isn't it? If you bear in mind that even when the Shah was in power and the United States was pressing Iran to use its territory, the Iranian authorities even then didn't give permission to the Americans to use their airfields as bases. And now, in after the Islamic Revolution, absolutely nothing. And now the Iranian authorities give this permission to the Russians to use their base in Hamadan for bombing Syria. So it really is an eye-catching move. The question is really why the Russians are doing it. I mean, in part, it's for military gain. It does give them an advantage of sorts. The route that they're now using is shorter because they don't have to go. They don't have to do the big loop that leads them down to Iran and through Iraq to get to northern Syria. They can base their bombers inside Iran. It's much shorter, and because it's shorter, they can take bigger payloads, so they can have bigger impact on the ground in Syria. There's that's clearly there as well. But I think apart from the military gains, I think what this does is it really reflects a sort of an assertiveness, first of all, on the part of the Russians vis-à-vis the United States. We don't care what you think. We're not too concerned about human rights issues, democratic freedoms and the rest of it in Iran. We're just there to do business with the Iranian authorities because we believe it's in our national interest to do so. And secondly, I think it reflects a frustration on the part of the Russians who've been trying over the last few months to get a deal for joint military action with the Americans inside Syria, which so far, for one reason or another, hasn't come to anything. So it's a way of saying to the Americans, look, we tried with you, you don't seem to be on board, we've got other options, and that includes Iran. But there are problems, nevertheless, for Iran. They could, as a consequence of this, because by taking this step for Russia, they could, as a consequence of this, find themselves much more in lock with Iran and Syria than they have been before. They could find themselves much more closely tied to the future of Bashar al-Assad than they have done before, and they could possibly find themselves stuck in a more conflictual relationship with Turkey as well, which together with the United States has been supporting the opposition to Assad. But against that, it has to be said too that there are rumours afoot now that Erdogan, the Turkish president, is about to go to Iran for discussions with the Iranian authorities. And it may be that some sort of tripartite agreement is being hammered out at the moment between Russia, Iran and Turkey, which would really set the cat among the pigeons.
Indeed. Could this also be part of a Russian desire to broaden alliances in the face of what they see as a hostile West?
Yes, I mean, I think that is the general background to what is happening. Russia, for some time now, is trying to position itself away from the West. It wants to leave itself in a position where it's not susceptible to Western pressure. For instance, we've seen it developing political, economic and military ties with China. The Iranian deal seems to fit into that sort of pattern. And it seems to fit into another broad pattern as well of Russia foreign policy being unpredictable, aggressive and divisive, trying to keep the West off balance all the time. We saw that, first of all, with the invasion of Georgia in 2008. We saw it with Crimea, the occupation of Crimea 2014. We've seen it over the last couple of years with its cyber wars against the Baltic states, its involvement to a certain degree in cyber wars in the United States during this election campaign. And we've seen it very recently, too, with the claim of Ukrainian terrorism in Crimea without any evidence, which has given Putin again an opportunity to rattle his saber. That's what's keeping the United States and others unbalanced, and that's what this agreement with Iran does as well. It keeps the West off balance.